Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday session. My name is Vanessa, and today we're going to be talking about Qualtrics. I just want to make sure, can everybody see the PowerPoint and hear my voice okay? If you want to do a thumbs up, awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just check one thing here. Alrighty. Okay, let's get started. Thank you guys for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Qualtrics, which is our official survey tool, specifically from the point of view of a beginner. So if you're brand new to Qualtrics, or if you've maybe with it in the past and you need a bit of a refresher, this is a good session for you to join. I try to give this at least once a year, but we do have different sessions that are recorded about how to do more advanced features. If you get more comfortable with Qualtrics and find yourself using it on a more frequent basis. So I'm happy in a follow-up email after the session's over to share links to those recordings with you. We talk about things like scoring, how to quantitatively analyze text, and a few other things that could be really helpful for really kind of bumping up or enhancing your surveys a bit. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that I am recording today's session. So you should expect within the next 24 hours to get a follow-up email from me to whichever email you signed up for to take this session. I'm going to have a link to the recording as well as some helpful guides about how to get started with using Qualtrics and touching on the topics that we discussed today. Also, I do have everyone on mute, and that's only to prevent, some accidental background noise. But feel free to put any questions in the chat at any time. If you want to come off the mic, you can also raise your hand. I'm also seeing a note from my colleague Christina Corey. She works in our educational technologies group and helps a lot of people with Qualtrics as well. So she might also chime in the chat if you have questions. I just wanted to point out again, Christina Corey. So in case you see her name, you know that she is also a bit of a Qualtrics expert herself, and she, probably has a wealth of knowledge she can share as well. So let's get started. So you may have heard of Qualtrics, which is why you're here, but it is one of the official survey tools that we offer at Weill Cornell. And there are a few, I'll get into one other one and when you may want to use one versus the other. But essentially, Qualtrics has been really great for the college, mostly because it is pretty easy to use and it's fairly intuitive. It has a very modern looking interface and it has these big blue buttons everywhere that kind of just direct you, create a new survey, go here. Publish survey, go here. So it's pretty generally easy to use. There are a lot of advanced features, of course, so it can feel overwhelming. Like, what can I do with this survey? But hopefully, with this session, we can just touch on the basics, how to create a survey, how to get it out there, and how you can look at the data, which are the basics that you need to do any of this. There's also a lot of robust functionality, which I mentioned, and it can handle a lot of different survey types. So when we get into Qualtrics itself in the demo, you're going to see there's a ton of different questions that you can ask. You can even do things like now you can do video capture or video responses, which is a relatively new feature. One thing about Qualtrics is they're always updating the application. So you will constantly see new things that you can kind of dabble in and new ways to collect data. There's also things like email triggers. So if somebody fills out a survey, it may trigger an email to you as a survey creator, or you can do emails that go out to the survey respondent with follow-up information, whatever it is that that person needs to know. And you can recreate almost every part of your survey, which is very nice. You may find as you use Qualtrics more and more that you may need to redo a survey every quarter, every month, every year, with slightly new information. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It basically with Qualtrics, you can copy a whole survey or parts of it over so that you can make the changes you need, republish it, and you've got a brand new survey with brand new data to collect. So it's very efficient in that way. And really important, there's no added cost to departments to use Qualtrics. You don't need to call ITS and ask for access. You can just go to a URL that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes and log in with your CVID and password, and you have activated your Qualtrics account if you have not done so already. So another survey tool we get asked about a lot, while this is not a red cap session, we do get this question quite a bit, and I just want to differentiate between the two. So red cap is another survey tool that we offer, although it is geared specifically towards the research community. That doesn't mean researchers cannot use Qualtrics. In fact, they use both. And just to give you kind of a lay of the land, both Qualtrics and RedCap are compliant with privacy and security regulations, which is a question we get a ton. And they both offer a ton of different question types and ways to collect data. The differences are you may want to use Qualtrics if you're looking for an experience for your respondent that's a little more modern looking, a little more intuitive, kind of easier to navigate. And Qualtrics is ideal for most business use cases. So if there was some type of event that occurred and you want to get feedback on that, Qualtrics is great for that. You could do quizzes and lots of different types of surveys that are easy to put together in Qualtrics. And I think what's really important to understand about Qualtrics is that there is no fee to create any survey. So while RedCap is generally free for research projects, there could be added support that you may find that you need that may require a fee. You can reach out to our RedCap experts for more information about that. I'll have their details in just a second. You may, though, want to use RedCap if you are planning to export data into statistical analysis software, something like SPSS. You can do that within Qualtrics, but RedCap allows you to do that a little more easily. And RedCap is much better for longitudinal surveys. And there is this added feature for database management. Now, again, if you're still not sure which survey tool is better to use, you can reach out to our Architecture for Research Computing and Health group, also known as ARCH. And I've got their email up on the screen at arch-support@med.cornell.edu. I will be sure to include this in the follow-up email. So if you do want to reach out to them and say, hey, this is my use case, is Qualtrics or RedCap going to be the better solution? They can absolutely help you out with that. So just wanted to kind of put that note out there for you as you're creating your own surveys. And if they're for research, you may have a couple of options that you can use. So if you've decided that Qualtrics is the solution that you want to go forward with, it's very easy. All you have to do is go to wildcornell.qualtrics.com. You're going to be prompted to log in with your seaweed and password, like most Cornell apps, and then you'll be taken to a dashboard where you can start creating your surveys. Now, I 100% realize that you're not necessarily going to create a survey directly after this session. That is okay. You can follow along if you'd like. That's totally fine. But it's very likely that you may forget some of the information that we talk about today. That's cool. I want to point you to qualtrics.com/support. It is a massive knowledge base that I myself use quite frequently when I don't know how to do something in Qualtrics. And I've been using Qualtrics for many years, and there are still kind of use case scenarios where I'm like, how would I just kind of put this together in a survey? And I have always found my answer at the Qualtrics support site. There's also a Qualtrics forum where people kind of type in what they're trying to do within a survey, and they are answered by kind of Qualtrics super users and Qualtrics employees. So it's a very, very handy site. I highly recommend it, and I'll also include that link in the follow-up email. But however, if you can't do something just like log in, a more technical issue with Qualtrics, that's something you might want to reach out to ITS support about and just say, hey, I can't log into my Qualtrics. Is there something wrong with my Weill Cornell account? And we can definitely look into that for you. So I am going to head into the Qualtrics tool. Give me 1 minute to just move over. Are there any questions actually before I head over? I don't see any, but if you have one, feel free to put it in at any time. I'm going to move over to Qualtrics, and I just want to confirm if somebody could give like a thumbs up or just let me know that you can see my Qualtrics screen. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. So you are looking at my Qualtrics dashboard. Mind you, Qualtrics is going to, your dashboard is going to look a lot different depending on how many surveys you have. And also you can see Qualtrics has done some kind of rearranging of the homepage. You can actually put widgets now. That wasn't an option even just a few months ago. But you can absolutely pin things to your homepage, like certain surveys that you might be working on that are open for quite a long while and you kind of want to see how they're doing. You can absolutely do that. There is this option right here that says rearrange homepage, do those widgets, but if you accidentally click out of it and it disappears, that little gear icon is also here in the top left. So it's not gone completely. You can always rearrange your dashboard to your liking. But regardless of how you rearrange this big section in your screen and your dashboard, some things are always going to be the same in navigation, which I just want to point out before we start creating a survey, so you at least understand how to find things in your account. So on the left-hand side, you're always going to see your most recent surveys, meaning the surveys you opened last. There's always going to be a handful right here. But if you want to see all of your surveys, you would click here to see all projects. And you can also search for a survey by key name right here. I'm going to go to see all projects first. And there are going to be a lot of surveys here. I have, oh my God, like almost 300. And that's really because I mostly do test surveys to kind of train and help people. But there are a ton of surveys here. And if you want to find a survey quickly, there is a search bar right here, and you can start typing in a keyword. So I'm going to type in the word general. And these are some general knowledge surveys that I created that I access quite frequently for demonstration purposes. So again, you can always look for the surveys pretty quickly as you pile more and more into your account. You'll also notice you can create folders here on the bottom left. I can create a new folder. And here are some folders I have in here that I occasionally put surveys into, although I could definitely be better at organizing these. And then you also have at the top here starred surveys and surveys that have been shared with you. So you can click on these stars on the left of any survey to kind of prioritize them and make them more easy to find. This is helpful if there's a survey you access quite frequently. And then there's also surveys that have been shared with me, meaning I'm not the owner of the survey. I didn't create it, but someone has given me some type of access, whether it's access to edit the survey, access to share it with other people. That's, I'd have to look into each survey to figure it out. But essentially, if I knew a colleague had shared a survey with me, like I work with Bridget McFadden, who's our other ITS communication specialist, I could click her name and see every survey that she has ever shared with me in my own account. So there are different ways that you can find the survey that you need within your account. If you ever want to go back to that big dashboard we saw at the beginning, you can click this XM in the top left and it'll take you there. Before we get started too with our survey, I just want to point these icons at the top. This letter V, that's actually for my name, Vanessa. You'll see a different letter for your own account, but that is how you would log out or go into your account settings. You'll see this little bell here. That's for notifications. Notifications appear mostly on surveys where you kind of have shared with other people or collaborating with other people. It'll show you, any changes that may have occurred. And you'll also get notifications as updates of how current surveys are doing. So you may get a notification if a bunch of people have filled out a survey, for example. And then we have with this question icon, help. So a really important thing to know, I did mention the support site for Qualtrics as a resource, but your Weill Cornell Qualtrics license also includes help from Qualtrics directly, like from a person at Qualtrics. They do have now an AI support assistant, which a lot of apps now have, and you can type questions in there. But if you want to speak to like an actual person at Qualtrics about anything having to do with your surveys, you can see there is a contact support button at the bottom here, and that's chat, phone, or email. Your license, again, does include getting help from Qualtrics directly. There is no added cost to asking somebody at Qualtrics for help. So really important to note there. That is, again, where this question mark icon is, and you would just open that up to contact Qualtrics support. All right, so now that we have kind of a general lay of the land, I want to start creating a survey with you. There's two places that you can create a survey. One is this big blue button at the bottom that says create a new project. Or if you were in this view where you can see all of your projects, there's another big blue button that says create project. So either of those will work. I did see a note that screen sharing seems to have stopped. Has anybody else experienced that, or are we all okay? Okay, Tom, I'm not sure why screen sharing may have stopped for you. You might be able to refresh your Zoom or come back in. I just wanted to make sure that everybody could still see. Tom, I'm really sorry experiencing that issue, but if you want to try refreshing Zoom or logging in and out again, it may pop up for you. Okay, let's continue. So we're gonna go to this create. Oh, no problem, Tom. Don't need to apologize. Just making sure you're good. So let's go to create project. Okay, so there's a few ways that you can create a project. I always like to teach people how to create a survey from scratch, and that's because, you can work from a template if you'd like, but the template may not always show you exactly where to change things or how you may have gotten a particular type of question. So I'm going to show you where everything is, at least at the beginner level for creating a survey. You're probably going to use this like 99.9% of the time. You can, however, if you scroll down, see some templates under guided projects. For example, there is a template for training feedback. So if you did some type of training and want to create a survey, you can always click this and you would get kind of a template that would guide you through creating a survey. There's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly explore these options, but definitely, keep in mind these steps for creating a survey from scratch so you know how to customize a template for your own uses. And very rarely, it has happened occasionally. I've gotten emails from people on how to create a survey from data they already have. You can import data if you'd like to, and that's right here. Some for data imports, you can use things like Excel or SPSS. That's right here. I won't be able to have enough time to go through that today. However, if you're very interested in learning how to import data to start a survey, please let me know. You can reach out to me through email individually, and I can send you links about how to do this. But let's start from scratch, like we've got nothing. And it's telling you that if you're using this, it's best used for ad hoc surveys. There's always, some type of advice that Qualtrics give you of what solution might be best for what you're trying to do. So we're going to hit get started and we're going to name our survey. So we're going to call this, I always do a survey. It's about animal adoption. So just because it has cute pictures and it's more fun to look at than a standard survey. So we're going to call this cat adoption. I'm going to date it for today so that I know what it is. And then you can assign it to a folder if you would like. I'm going to put this in Tech Tuesday samples. And how do you want to start your survey? Again, it gives you an option to start from completely blank, to start for something that's existing in your account already. You can import a QSF file. A QSF file is a specific extension for a Qualtrics survey file. So this is a very rare instance, but if you're like working with a colleague who already has a Qualtrics account, they can actually download all the information from their Qualtrics survey and give it to you, and then you can open a new survey with that file. This is a very specific use case. We're going to stick to blank survey though today, and we'll hit create project. Okay, perfect. So now you'll see that we are in a special, like kind of create a survey creation field. And we are going to just start building on this. I get a default question here that's multiple choice. And you can see it just is prompting me to click anywhere to start adding information to create my survey. I like to start surveys with some context for people, meaning I just like to have like a quick intro that's purely text explaining what's happening and why this survey exists and kind of what I need from them. So I actually want to change this. You don't have to start with the default they give you. On the left-hand side, there is a big button called question type. And right now it's stuck on multiple choice. However, if I click that drop down menu, you will see that I have a ton of different question types. If I hover over any of them, like matrix table, for example, it gives me an example visually of what that question looks like and what it does. So if you're new to survey creation, this is kind of a great way to understand the different ways that you can collect data. In this case, because I'm just providing context, all I want to do is add some text explaining what this survey does. So you can see I click text/graphic and the question has changed on screen. And now instead of giving me options like multiple choice, it's just saying, hey, write the text here. So all I have to do is click and start typing. Very easy. So thanks for your interest in adopting one of our cats. Please fill out this form so we can contact you. Perfect. When I'm done typing, all I have to do is click outside the box and we're done. If you're wondering about saving the survey, Qualtrics auto saves everything you do. You can actually see at the top here, it says saved at 12:22, which was just a few seconds ago. We're still in 12:22. But any changes that I make to the survey are going to be saved. So you don't have to worry about creating this whole long survey. Maybe your computer crashes and your survey's gone. No, Qualtrics has it stored, it has it saved, and you're good. So that's always something that is nice to not have to worry about. So there's the context for my survey. And now I want to start adding actual questions where people can input data. So let's start. We just go here to this next button, add a new question. So that's what we're going to click. And Qualtrics is giving me some options that I can add even from here. We want to do a question where we want to ask people for their information, like their name, their email address, and their phone number. Certainly, we can't find out how to contact these people without that information, right? So we are going to do a form field. So I picked form field and I have an interesting looking question here. I've got an option to, of course, write my question and then some options for somebody to just fill out these different fields, like a form as it stipulates. So I have by default 3 options here, but I can always change that. Just remember, you can always tweak these questions. You're not limited to what Qualtrics provides you as a default. So in this case, I'm going to write my question, which is, please submit following information. And again, when I'm done typing, I can just click outside of it and it's there. And then we want to ask them for their details, right? So I'm going to put full name. I'm going to put email address and I'm going to put phone number. All right. One thing about Qualtrics that it allows you to do, which I think is really great, is validate some of this information. So for example, we've got an email address. You want to make sure it is a valid email address, correct? So if I go here to click to edit validation, and I go to email address, right now there's no validation. However, if I click this drop-down menu, you can see that I have options to validate some type of data. In this case, because we're asking for email, I want to ask for a valid email address, right? Same thing with phone number, right? I want to make sure I'm getting a valid phone number. And I can decide even what country the phone number should come from. So we're going to assume that we're asking for US phone numbers. But if I was in one of these countries, like Canada, for example, I could validate phone numbers from there as well. And that allows you to make sure that somebody's not just typing in random numbers and the data gets all wonky. You can make sure that you're always getting a US phone number and US phone number format. Even with something like full name, you can kind of technically validate it. You can validate that it's actually text and nobody's putting in like random numbers in there. That's totally up to you. And when you're done looking at different validations, you can go back to preview mode and you'll notice these little asterisks here. The user or the person filling out your survey will not see those asterisks. These are just kind of visual cues for you to note that there is some type of validation there. So when you're kind of reviewing your survey before you publish it and send it out, you'll know that these two options have validation that you can check on. I also want to make sure that people actually fill out this particular question. This survey becomes useless, right? If I ask for this data and they don't fill it out, I won't know who to contact, right? So for any question, when you have it selected, meaning this little check mark is selected, or you see this blue bounding box around it that's highlighted, you can go to the left-hand side, this menu here, and you can see an option called response requirements. So I can actually add requirements here, meaning I could force a response or request a response. The difference between those two is force response will not let somebody submit the survey or move on to like another page until they answer the question. Request response is a little nicer. I don't know a better way to describe it other than it says, hey, we'd like you to fill out this question. They may not still. So usually I recommend force response if you really, really want them to answer the question. And we'll see what that looks like when we actually do the preview of this. But you'll notice that when I clicked force response, this whole question now has an asterisk. And if I hover over it, it says this question has response requirements. So again, that's a visual cue for you as a survey creator to understand that there's some type of validation happening there when you review everything before you send it out. Now, let's do a multiple choice question, since they're probably the most common question types that you'll be using, or among the most common ones. So we'll add a multiple choice. We'll ask, do you currently have any pets at your home? All right, we'll click outside that and we're good. So Qualtrics is already like knowing that this is a yes or no question, and it's giving me some suggestions, which is great. It's probably giving me more than I need. I really just need a yes or a no. I can just click on this and do yes and no and delete the rest. To delete a question, all you have to do is just hit delete, or you can hit this drop down and hit remove choice. Or another way is, let's say I wanted to add more questions. I can always hit enter to add another field. Or on the left-hand side, there's also this option here that says number of choices. Notice that this menu on the left-hand side, on this sidebar, changes depending on the question type that you pick. It's very intuitive. It understands that your needs to change these questions to match the data you need to collect can be tweaked here on the left-hand side. So that's a really nice thing that Qualtrics offers. So we have yes or no. Again, we can change the choices here as well. There's lots of different ways that you can change it. It's really up to you. So in this case, do you have any pets at home? Simple yes or no, just two options. Great. I want to do something called display logic by adding a follow-up question. So we're going to do another multiple choice, and I'm going to ask, what pet or pets do you currently, oopsie, can't spell today, currently have at home? Select all that apply. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put a few types of pets here. Dog, cat, bird. We're going to do other. All right. So there's a couple of things with this question that I want to change, right? This is a simple multiple choice, meaning I can only pick one of these. However, it's a select all that apply, so I want to make it so they can pick more than one. We also have other here. I may want them to specify what that other is. And also, this question, question 4, is kind of moot. If question 3, they've selected the answer no. There's no reason that the person filling out the survey needs to answer question 4 in that case. They have no pets, they don't need to select any. So there's a lot of different ways that we need to change question 4 to match what type of data we want to collect. So let's first look at logic. So question 4, we only want to appear or display when question 3's answer is yes, right? So with question 4 selected, I've got the blue bounding box around it. We're going to scroll down on our left sidebar, and one option that's always available in the left-hand sidebar is something called display logic. There's also skip logic, which is the opposite. You skip a question depending on parameters or conditions that you've set. But in this case, we're going to use display logic, meaning we want question 4 to display on screen depending on certain conditions. So I'm going to click on that. And basically, we have to give those conditions in this pop-up. So display this question only if, and we can select question. We can base it on a lot of different things. I'm keeping it simple today for beginners. We're going to say, if question number 3, do you currently have pets at home? The answer is yes, and it's selected. That's when that question will display. I'm going to hit save. You're going to see that display logic at the top of question 4. Again, the person filling out that survey won't see it. This is a cue for you as a creator to understand you've added logic to this question. And there are ways to test that this logic works as we complete the survey, okay? So we've handled the logic, right? We also wanted these to be select all that apply. Right now, you can only pick one. So if I scroll back up to my sidebar, you can see that under answer type, I can allow multiple answers. So you can see that these options change from radio buttons to checkboxes. Mind you, if you're going to do a question like that where somebody can select more than one answer, highly, highly recommend that in the question you put select all that apply or some language that lets the person know they can select more than one answer. I think it's really important to be as clear as possible in your instructions what you want the person to do or what you want them to know they're able to do, right? Then we have other. Other is a very popular option in multiple choice questions. And if I wanted them to specify what that other pet is, they can have a chinchilla. I don't know. But we want them to tell us what it is. In this drop-down menu for this option, you can allow text entry. And if I click on that, you will see that there is now a field available for someone to specify what type of pet they currently have at home. So if you have a question type in your own survey where you kind of want to leave something open-ended from the multiple choice, maybe the multiple choice doesn't cover everything you want, but you don't want to have 20 options that are like very overwhelming for the survey respondent. Other with a field there is a great way to kind of solve that issue. Okay. So again, when you have a question type, know that you can go into the left sidebar and make lots of different changes to kind of visually change what it looks like on screen, or even just change how you collect that data in the survey. All right. We're going to do one more type of question. I'm going to do another multiple choice. We have to see the cats we're adopting, right? This is the best part of the demo. Okay. Which cat are you interested in adopting? All right. What is nice about Qualtrics as well is I've got these 3 cats, right? These are all actual real internet cats or were real internet cats. Some of them have passed away, unfortunately. So these are the wonderful cats that we are going to adopt out. You can add images to any of these options. So again, I've clicked this drop down button. There's lots of options here. Of course, we can't go through them all today, but I want you to focus on this one, insert graphic. This takes me to an image library. Note that anytime you add an image into Qualtrics for your surveys, Qualtrics will save that in your account and you can always pull it up again if you need to. So if I wanted to add an image, I can upload a graphic here with this big button on the right. But I have done this demonstration multiple times. So I have these cats somewhere in here. I can always search for them in here. I think the first cat was Potato. There he is. There's that beautiful potato cat. And I can add images to any of these options. I'll do it really fast here just to go on with the demonstration. And I think there she is, Princess Monster Truck. Those are our 3 amazing cats that we have available for adoption. And I know you want to adopt them all, but you got to pick one. So that is our survey. Let's say it's beautiful. I'm good. It looks great. I want to get it out there, but I want to test it first, right? I want to make sure that it's working as intended. I've got some mandatory questions here. I've got some logic. It's always good, always recommended to make sure that those things work first before moving on. So you'll notice at the top here, there is a preview button. If I click preview, It's going to open a new tab. Here we go. And you can see what this survey looks like on the left on a desktop, like on a laptop or a desktop computer, and on the right, what it looks like on a mobile device. So I can just start taking this survey and make sure that things work. So, for example, we wanted this question here where somebody submits their name and email address. We made that mandatory, right? We want to make sure that somebody can't move on in the survey without answering it. If I try to move on to the next page, Qualtrics gives me this little note. Please answer this question, right? So I have to fill it out. So really quickly, I'm just gonna make up an email uh, and a phone number. I'll do 12555. Let's see if that passes it. And do I have any pets at home? I'm going to say yes to make sure that that display logic works. So I'm going to hit yes and try to move on. Perfect. So we do see that option. What pets do you currently have at home? Please select all that apply. Can I select more than one? I can. Perfect. So that question is working as intended. And what cat are you interested in adopting? I'm going to pick potato. And then if I hit submit, perfect. Thank you for taking the time to take the survey. Your response has been recorded. It seems to work, right? What's really nice about this survey preview is that you can take this link at the very top in your browser, copy it, and share it with other people. So if you want other people on your team, your colleagues, to test a survey out before sending it out to the masses, you should absolutely do that and make sure that things look okay. And then you can go back and make changes. The reason I'm so adamant about previewing surveys is because once you hit publish and start collecting data, if you need to make significant changes to your survey, and by significant, I mean rearranging questions, taking questions out completely, adding new questions, that really messes with the data that you've already collected. It kind of ends up looking like a big mess. So please try not to hit publish until you're really, really sure that the survey is okay. That doesn't include small changes like if you misspell the word, you can go back in and change it. It will not affect your data collection. You would just hit publish again once you make changes to, republish and make sure everything is saved. So let's say everything is perfect. We're ready to move forward. We're going to hit publish. Our survey is good, right? Publish the survey. So Qualtrics has given me this URL. That's my survey URL, right? To go and send out and collect real data. If for some reason I forget that link or I lose it, it is not lost forever. You can always go into distributions and go under anonymous link, and that same link is always there. Even if you decide to make changes to your survey and republish it, this link will not change, okay? And this is just a link that you can send out any way you want. You can put it on a website, you can email it out, you can put it on a social media account, it doesn't matter. All right, this link, this survey link will be active until you close your survey. If you want to close your survey or stop collecting data, under distributions, you'll see this button here that says pause response collection. Then if somebody tries to access that link, they will no longer be able to take the survey. You can always turn it back on if you'd like to, but for that time that you had it closed, you would not have been collecting data. You'll also notice some other options here. For the sake of time, I can't go through them all, but another really helpful way to share a survey is through a QR code. This is really helpful for things like presentations. If you are giving a PowerPoint presentation and you want people to respond to a survey, you can put this QR code, just download it, put it on a slide. And everybody's got a phone nowadays. Everybody can scan it with their phones, with their camera, and be able to take the survey from their phone. Or if you've got a flyer or something like that posted around campus or in different places, people can definitely fill out your survey that way with a QR code rather than trying to type in a very long URL, right? If you want to do personal links or emails, you can do that. Personal links are actually they track who opens and closes or responds to a survey. That one is not anonymous in any way, of course, because you'd be able to track who takes your survey. If you'd like more information about this, I can certainly provide it. Please feel free to reach out to me via email, and I'm happy to get you those details. And then you could send emails directly from Qualtrics to a user list that you might have, asking them to fill out your survey. What's nice about this option is that you can get reports about how many people have responded, and you could resend it out. You can also do that through Outlook too. It's really up to you how you'd like to handle it. And then you can also share through social media if you'd like to. If you have any of these types of accounts, you can certainly share your survey there. I would say that those are probably the most common ways that people share surveys at Weill Cornell. There is a question about can you send a survey link via cell phone text message? So you'll see that there is an SMS text messages option and something called access codes. You can send a survey that way. That is the only part of Qualtrics I will say is not free. You have to buy something called credits, and those allow you, then depending on the number of credits, is how many numbers that you can reach out to. I don't know the cost of that offhand. It kind of depends. It's like a package of like you could buy zero to this many credits, and it costs this much, et cetera, et cetera. The more you buy, the less it might be. I can certainly get you that information. I know a lot of the research community uses that. They like to use the SMS text option for people to respond to surveys. So I can certainly get that information to you if you're interested. Again, you can definitely respond to my follow-up email after this session. How does a survey compile the results? Perfect. That was where I was going to go next. So once you've filled out the survey, and you need to find the data, how people are responding. There's a couple of ways you could do it. I'm actually going to go into another survey that has more data. That one. Okay. So this is a survey that I think has like 80 something responses. So if you want to see how people are responding, there's a couple of ways. If you just want the raw data, like download an Excel sheet of how the line item of how everybody responded who answered your survey, data analysis is the way to go. You can see here, there's already some line items that I can take a look at. This was just kind of a general knowledge survey that had like 5 questions on it. However, if I wanted to take like the raw data, maybe import it into Power BI or Excel or SPSS, there's a big export and import button right here. And I can export the data. And you'll see those options right here. You can even do Google Drive, Tableau, lots of different options. I'm going to do a CSV file really quick. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. Takes a second to download. I hope you can see that. If you can't, let me know. But you should see an Excel sheet with a bunch of line items, or rather columns, that you may or may not find useful. Qualtrics gives you a lot of information, like the start date that somebody took a survey and the end date. There's also something called status, which is really important. You'll notice that there's a survey preview and a survey test. Preview are those tests that we did earlier. So you can always delete those if you don't want the test data. And then what you want to look for is any column that starts with the letter Q. Those are the actual question responses, and those are the answers. So that's what it looks like in getting raw data. I'm going to close that up. If you want to get an overview of how everyone responded with some type of visualization, you would go under results. So results here, I can click on any of these questions, like what do you call a group of hamsters was the question. And these were how everybody responded. This is just a really quick line graph of how people answered the question. And I've also got a table here with some percentages. If I click on these 3 dots at the corner of any visualization, I can actually edit it if I needed to, and do some comparisons if I wanted, change or add metrics to it to create visualizations in the way that I'd like. And if I hit display, I can even change things like or rename axes and data values. There's a lot of different changes. And of course, it would be a little difficult to go through them all since we're at time about. So you can go into, again, results and play around with those options and even share this dashboard with other people by hitting this download dashboard or email this dashboard to other people. I do see that Christina would like to come off the mic. I'm gonna see if I can get her to unmute. Christina, was there something I missed that you want to mention?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm. I feel like this is a quick one. It says, can we link Qualtrics to other WCM information so that the response field is validated? For example, if we wanted people to fill in their CU ID, I'm assuming that we can limit it to a certain, like at med.cornell.edu, or that's correct, right?
Yes. So there
Okay.
is a way, if you just wanted people at Weill Cornell to fill out your survey, you can add it's right here under survey flow. And this is more of an advanced thing. I'm whoever's asking that question, I'll look through the chat and I'm happy to actually show you how to do it. But there is an survey flow is really helpful for very long surveys when you kind of want to map out how you want people to go through it and to add other things. So, for example, to make it so that only people with a seaweed can access a survey. There's something here called an authenticator, meaning that people would have to authenticate, add their seaweed and password to join. However, when you click authenticator, there's lots of settings that somebody who is not familiar with our security settings would know to put in here. I am happy to show you how to do that. Whoever asked the question, feel free again to message me. But yes, Christina, in a nutshell, to answer your question, you can add authentication specifically for Weill Cornell employees or anyone with a seaweed, rather. I shouldn't say employees. Um, so this is kind of the nutshell of how to create surveys, how to find the results, how to extract them, how to share your survey. I'm just going through the questions. I see that Christina answered a ton, so thank you to her. Super, super helpful. I'm just making sure there aren't any I can add more to. But it looks like you've answered all of them. Yes, you can change the text limit to a lot of these questions, especially the fill in the blank questions. Let me go back really quick because I know we're at time, but I just want to share this really quick. Um, there we go. Okay. I think that person is asking about these text answers to validate. So you can change how big, rather, the field is, like how many characters that it can accept in any text field. You can see here I've got short, medium, long, and essay. Um, Actually, I'll do a quick question right here. Add a new question. We'll do text entry. You can see it the most here under text type. You could do a single line, multiple lines, an essay box, or even a password that you can set and create. So you can change exactly how much text somebody can add. And you can even expand the box to let people know, hey, you can write a whole essay in here if you want. So visually they know you're expecting a lot of information if they have it. And let me just double check. It looks like all the questions were answered. Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate you going through that for me. Um, I am going to wrap up the session. I'm actually going to add links to everything that we did today to create a beginner survey. I'll also include links for anybody who was late to some more advanced survey sessions that we've done. So if you're interested in doing things like adding scoring to your survey, add like analyzing text responses quantitatively, you can do that as well in Qualtrics. You can do things like loop and merge. You can add quotas. There's so much you can do in this tool. And unfortunately, we don't have that long today. And it's a lot to like kind of start using these things. So I don't want you to feel like you have to add all those bells and whistles immediately to a survey. I think it's just enough to know how to create it. And then as you get more curious and want to do more, build on top of that. But I would love if you've got any questions, give them to me. Feel free to email me after the session. I'm going to, again, send a follow-up email with a link to this recording. as well as some guides that can get you started. Really appreciate you taking some time to learn more about Qualtrics. And again, another thank you to Christina for helping to answer these questions. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day and check out that email from me soon. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.